Hey, are we live? Looks like we might be live. Cool. So sorry,
Right.
the camera wasn't working, but yeah, how's it going, Paul?
Good. You forgot your shirt.
I
Oops.
did. I forgot my shirt. What are you talking about?
Look.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. I did forget my shirt.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, we got to start wearing those on the Tuesday calls.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, look who it is. It's Freddie. Freddie, we decided today we're gonna bring you on a live at some point and let people we'll do a ask the student session. But Freddie's one of our rock star students. We made a nice
Sounds good to
post
me.
about him. Made a nice post about him. He's killing the game. Top all-star student.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely a good idea. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to eat a little bit while we're doing this.
Move to the left a little bit. We're seeing more of your Peloton than your face. There you go.
All right, I got the cameras up here. I don't know if you can tell the lighting's a little bit better, but yeah. So hopefully I got the light up here. I got the new camera. So you look like crap, but I think I look pretty good.
Well, I don't have the HD camera. We're building the studio right now. I wonder if I
Yeah.
could show.
Maybe we could just use my camera because my camera's pretty badass.
Well, yeah, if you want to bring it to the office. I'm doing the construction myself. You can see here. This is the wall. We're making one of those really nice walls with the wood.
Mm-hmm.
So
Trying to do construction.
Yeah, I started doing construction, and then I
Like wood
realized
shop in middle school one time.
I realized it's gonna cost around $500 just to do that wall. But you know what? We're the land investing pros, so we need to have a nice set.
That's fair. Fair.
So tonight we're going to be talking about how we decide what makes a good market. So I honestly think that this live tonight is going to bring the most value out of any lives that we've ever done. This is our favorite topic. This is what I would say that me and Willie know the most about this topic over anything else that we cover, that and then marketing. But I think that this is one of the most important things for anyone in the land investing business to
Oh, it's
understand.
everything. It is everything. Choosing your market is the most. It is literally what this business is. If you don't know how to choose markets, you don't know how to buy property, then you're not really much of a land investor. Maybe you're more of an internet marketer. Maybe you're pretty good with that. But I would say this is core, fundamental, most important thing you can do as a land investor to make sure your business goes well as you get started.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you want to start it? And what do you eat? What can you tell the audience what you are eating for dinner?
Well, it's like I got some. I don't really know what it is. It's some beef and cheese and taco. So it's a taco.
Is that one of those factor meals?
No, no. And then I got a salad here, so it looks pretty good.
Nice.
Spinach, avocados, tomatoes, little pepper, onions. Not bad. Olive. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, do you want to?
I don't know who that is. Is that you? Who said that? Is that David?
I don't know. Hopefully,
we got haters. We got haters already.
I hope it's not a hater. But
all right,
yeah, why don't you get started and maybe you talk about some things. Talk about some things that you think are good for choosing a market. What are some of the most important things that you should think about as your? I mean, it's an overwhelming task because as land investors, we can choose any market in the country, and that's what's so powerful about this niche. I talk about it all the time, and it's so overwhelming because every state has a ton of property, a ton of land. So, what are some core things that that make a market a good market?
Well, I would say first and foremost, you need to go where the data is before we get into price points and whatever. I think the single most important thing is you need to go where the data is. So what we mean by that is like, how many land transactions do you think are going on in like North Dakota versus somewhere in let's call it Florida, somewhere in Florida where, you know, they have these subdivisions that just pop off. Like, I think, you know, just going to like North Dakota or South Dakota, and you look at, you can go on Zillow and just look and see how many transactions during the year are happening there. And you'll see it's like, I don't know, under 100, a couple hundred at the most. And then you go to a state like Florida and there's like tens of thousands of transactions. So, I mean, you can just start by going state by state and doing it by process of elimination with no filtering whatsoever, you can kind of eliminate states right off the bat where there's just not people buying land. There's just not a lot of interest in like how many people want to buy land in North Dakota. It's not like there's some emerging market where, you know, everyone wants to own land there. There's tons of land and not a lot of people.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that. And so I guess it's not intuitive to where the land markets would be. I mean, some indicators like being near a big city, that's a good indicator, but it's not necessarily like where there is automatically going to be a market. And some states where you think there'd be big markets, a lot of the land is just not privately owned. So you have to just kind of take the data and analyze the data and trust the data rather than trusting your intuition. While your intuition might be a good guide and maybe a good check on the data, really the sold data and the activity in the markets is where you should be buying. So there are, how granular do you want to get into this, Paul? Do you want to talk about some places? Yeah, why don't we talk about some places that people can, some websites that people can start using today to, and anyone listening, if you guys have any insight or thoughts about this or comments, just please comment in the chat. Or if you want to go over a market, I would love to go over a market. If someone's got a market in mind,
we'll go over it live.
We'll go over live.
We'll do a screen share and do it live.
We'll do a screen share and do it live. So I think it's a great idea. So if anyone's got any markets, please chime in.
Here's a good one. Dan, what's Dan's last name? So guys, if you are on this live and you want us to see your name, so Dan, like you can click the link in the description. It says streamyard.com/Facebook. It'll allow us to share your name, but right now it just says Facebook user. So Dan asks, do you think with blind offers, it's easier to focus on the West Coast versus East Coast? I've tried on the East Coast with not a lot of luck. Thanks, Dan. I would say first and foremost, it doesn't really matter where you mail. It matters if you're offering the right price. If you don't offer the right price on the mailer, you can mail anywhere and you're not going to get deals. I would probably just say, like, don't worry where it is. More so, how much are you offering on the lots? Willie, what would you add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't matter West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, wherever the data is good. Blind offers, I think. Well, blind offers should, in my view, is the only way to do it. I don't think neutral letters make too much sense. You got to put something on there, because otherwise you're going to be getting people call you back. And I've mentioned this in previous lives. I don't want to go too into depth in it, but I think blind offers, no matter what coast, are the way to kind of go about it. But looks like we got some people who chose some markets on here. So maybe, I don't know. Do you want me to do a screen share, or how do we think is a good way to go about this?
I don't know. I think we can go over. We're pretty familiar with Benton County, Arkansas. Mesa County. Do we buy there? I don't know. We just started doing Colorado. Willie, have you done anything in Mesa County? You're not on camera, by the way.
I know I had not too much in Mesa, but I mean, we could take a look at it. I don't know if I want to do screen share. Okay. I got a lot of stuff on my thing right now, but let me go pull it up. And we've sold some lots out in Benton County, Arkansas. So that's a very interesting market. And I'm pulling that up right now. Oops, not Bentonville. There is a lot of cuts out there. So Arkansas, there's some investors who buy out here. It's a pretty cheap state. So let me just take a look at it. We don't do too much business out in Arkansas, but
it's a great market for starting investors.
Yeah, I think if you're getting started, like you had not sent out a mailer, I think you'll pick up a lot of properties. And I know Arkansas, you can get a lot of properties over the counter. I would contact the tax collector at a lot of these counties in Arkansas and see if they are selling any properties over the counter. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I know you can buy a lot of cheap property.
And when we say cheap, we mean like $500 to $600 cheap.
Yeah.
And one of our students, actually, I won't mention his name, he's killing it in that county, actually.
Wow. There's a lot. So the way we talk about choosing markets is looking for where the sold property is. And there's a lot of sold data out here. So let me just price. I know for those getting started, I mean, you could send out mail at, I don't know, or you could buy a bunch of quarter acre lots out here, I imagine. Let me just check it. Yeah, so I mean, most of these cuts it looks like at least a lot of them are 722 from what I'm looking at, are around quarter to a half an acre. And there's a lot of activity. even on the sold side. But when you compare it to what's for sale, let me just check. So
Yeah,
it appears to be.
why don't you just rattle off the sold versus for sale? Just so
Yeah, so 722 properties sold, and that's all time sold. So you can narrow down on Zillow. That I'm just using Zillow. You could use LandWatch. There's other sites you could use, but there's 722 sold in that area, and there's 400 something for sale. So it's always a good indicator. You want to make sure that the sold relative to the for sale is decent. And so this market appears to be pretty good.
I want to unpack that for a second. I think something that's really important is if you're evaluating a market or you're looking at a market and you're only looking at the sold or only looking at the for sale, that's like not a good indicator. Like, for example, Willie used to do a lot in New Mexico, and then he was always getting frustrated in New Mexico. He's like, well, what the heck? Nothing's selling. And there was always like, he never really, I would say, like, because when we went over New Mexico, I think what you never really talked about or looked at when you first started, and what most people aren't talking about, is if that ratio isn't good, like this, you need to look at the ratio of sold versus for sale. Like in New Mexico, there's a ton of stuff for sale, but not a lot of stuff sold, and that's why, like, New Mexico, we don't touch New Mexico just because it's not a good market for us and for what our goals are. But I think it's really important to look at the ratios. Like, always pay attention to the ratios on sold versus for sale, and you always, like, when there's more for sale, or sorry, more sold than for sale, that means it's a hot market, usually.
Yeah. So I think, and just analyzing this market, it appears to be a fairly inexpensive market. So I'm sure you could pick up lots here for around $500. And I know there's sites you could buy. You can honestly buy some of these lots on eBay and buy for like $500, sell them for a few $1,000, $3,000. I think you can do that again and again and again. So if you're happy with those margins, it does take a little bit of work. It's not crazy, but I mean, if you don't want to risk a lot of capital, you're trying to get started, I think it's a great market to start. One thing to be aware of is I think some of these areas, I'm not, like I said, I don't know this area too well. I've sold a couple properties in the subdivision over the years. But I think there might be homeowners associations, so you want to check into that and the diligence aspect to it. So I think that's good. Why don't we go over Mesa, Arizona, Mesa County, Colorado?
Yeah, and
Okay.
well, I'm going to give a quick hack on how to check if there's an HOA. People ask that question all the time. So if you are in a county and you maybe there's an HOA, you're not sure, go on Zillow and call 2 or 3 real estate agents that have listings in the area and just like, hey, I'm interested in potentially buying in this area. Do you know if there's an HOA? And if they're, they'll probably have an answer, and that's the quickest way to find out if there's an HOA. Just take a minute and call a real estate agent. That's the quickest way, instead of like, you could go the traditional route of emailing different HOAs and being like, is this a part of it or not, et cetera.
Okay, so I've also pulled up Mesa County, Colorado, and I think this market also appears to be pretty decent. Let me just look at the price point. So it appears that there's a lot of activity, a lot of property selling. And again, I'm using Zillow. And the only issue with this is it's a bit more of an expensive market. So this is totally the opposite of what Benton County, Arkansas is. So if you're a starting investor, I would not start here because you're going to, I'm sure you can buy property and it's pretty easy to market and sell property here because there's a pretty decent market. However, the cheapest things on the market are like $14,000. You're going to have a tough time getting anything under 10 grand here. So I would say, while it's a good market if you're getting started, and then this market also is actually very tough to price. So that's also something that you might want to keep in mind. I'm not saying don't mail an area that's hard to price, but this one you might need to get a little bit more granular with pricing, because on the first page of Zillow, it prices jump from 14,000 all the way up to 65,000. So, and there's 10 pages of property. So it's really, really hard to price this market. I don't think this wouldn't be somewhere I would mail if I'm getting started. If you've got some capital behind you and you got some experience, I see no reason why you can't hit this area. But that would be my 2 cents. I don't know if you're looking at it, Paul, but that's how I feel about this market. So as you're getting started, try to find some markets where, because you want to do this consistently and predictably, and you don't want to spend all your capital on buying a couple different lots. You want to buy a bunch, and so you can diversify and get some deal experience, and then scale up and do more expensive lots.
Yeah,
your teeth.
Freddie said he mentioned that he had done some of those, which that's a completely different thing. But yeah, anyone got any other counties they want us to look at, or counties?
Yeah, so I was looking at Zillow. I can look at the names here. Let's see who I'm talking to. My thing's not updated. So that was Thomas Chaney. Yes, I was looking at Zillow. So this is interesting. So we don't do too much in Texas. We do a little bit out there. However, how do you get good information in Texas, which is a non-disclosure state? So I've gotten a little bit tricked up on Texas because you go over and you try to look for sold data and everything's put at 0. It's kind of put at like the information is not provided. So it's a little bit tricky. What you could do is just try to get some for sale data, and that might be a good indicator. Or I would just talk to some realtors. Honestly, if you're interested in the market, you know the market. Try talking to some realtors and getting some data in there, or just looking and try to find some good markets by looking at where there's a lot of property for sale. That doesn't mean that there's a lot of property selling, but it's an indicator that there's a lot of cuts out there, and it might be a good market to buy in. What else do you think, Paul? So let's see what other questions, and feel free to keep asking away.
Well, I would say one thing that's really important on how we decide what makes a good market is regardless of what the data says, does the market fit your budget? Does the market fit your goals? Does the market is it going to help you reach what you're trying to achieve?
Right.
There's a different types of market all over the place. Today we were looking at markets where stuff costs $100,000 to $200,000, and that's a completely different business model. And for some people, it might work for your goals, and some people it may not. So I would say it's very important to make sure it aligns with your goals. And like we mentioned before, if your goal is you only got $5,000 or $3,000 to start, your goal would probably be to find a market where you can pick stuff up for $500-$600, and Benton County would be a great starting point for you. But if you have like $20,000 or $40,000, then maybe Mesa County, Colorado is a better start for you. So you got to make sure that it fits within your budget.
Yeah, no, I think it's well said. And so the way we teach it is, if you're getting started and you want to start buying property, but I even think if you only have 40 or 60 grand, Paul, and you're trying to buy in Mesa, you're only gonna be able to buy 5-6 properties.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't even know. Probably maybe not even that, because I think people are gonna laugh at you because 65 grand is still on the first page of Zillow. So like if you're trying to get started and you've got 40-60 grand, I don't think that's where I would get started. I would try to find some of the cheaper markets where you can pick up property at 5 grand or lower, and just buy a bunch. So that would be my feedback on that. As you get more experience, more comfortable, then just move up the ladder. And the only way I think you really fail is if you just don't get enough reps in, and you're not convinced that it works. And once you start seeing some early success, then just kind of snowballs. That's kind of my opinion. That's how it works for me. That's how I've seen it work for dozens of students. So I think it would be a mistake to get started at a high price point, because you're going to buy one property, you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it and let it sit, and then it's going to sell maybe 2 months later if you didn't buy it exactly right, or and maybe the profit was there, maybe it wasn't. But if you diversify and buy 10, 15 different lots in good markets that are within your budget, then you're not going to be sitting and waiting on one property to sell. You're going to be busy doing a lot of things: marketing, selling, talking to buyers. You're going to see, oh, there's hundreds of buyers actually inquiring about my property, and then you're going to get more confidence to do more deals. So that would be my feedback. But I think it's a very good point that you do want to buy within your budget, and I can't emphasize how important that is, especially for those getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. How much movement are you looking for on Zillow to know the market is good?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I would just start. I mean, it depends how vast of an area you're looking at. the Zillow data is, it's widely available. So Zillow is a great place. You could use Redfin, you could use LandWatch. There's a number of different sites that you can use. So you just got to compare different areas, and just look at the data, look at the solds, look what's going on in different areas in the country, or within a state that you're interested in, and just try to find those areas and hyper target those areas, price those areas, and just start sending out mail to see what happens. So I would say put it on a relative basis. Just like once you start looking at a lot of different markets, and if you do it kind of the way we teach, it's going to be very obvious how to go about this, and there's going to be no ambiguity. It's going to be very clear exactly how to do it. And once you start looking at a number of different markets, it should be, hopefully you'll have an aha moment and just realize, okay, this market, I've analyzed 20 different markets. This one is the best by a lot. Here's the reasons why. I'm a land investor. I live in whatever city, but I can do this wherever. And that's the beautiful thing behind it. And so it's just looking at deals, looking at markets. That's really the name of the game here. So just compare things on a relative basis, and you should be able to have a good idea.
Absolutely. Let's see. I feel like I remember in the original course that you taught, you were big into looking at the Zillow views saved and the saved stuff. And then I feel like we don't really talk about that anymore.
Yeah, we don't use that too much anymore. I had that when I had a free mini course out there. I had that. It was a little bit outdated. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think any relevant data that you can gather is good. And it is it is a data point. Days on market is just hard for some of these cheaper properties that if you're buying like expensive lots in town that realtors are selling, the realtors are motivated to sell, the realtors are gonna walk people out there. That's one thing. But if you're selling rural lots where there's not as big of a market with realtors, like the data is just not as good. The data is much better for houses and lots that are in towns that are more expensive. So the days on market it's just harder to analyze. So the data is just frankly not there. And so views, that is helpful. I think all these things are helpful. What we like to do is look at the sold data, and that's the indicator of what things are selling or where things are selling and how often things are selling. So that's really what we use. Days on market is probably pretty good, but again, that's more relevant for in-town lots or closer to town lots or more in-demand lots.
Yep. How do you guys decide the size of the mailer after you've vetted and selected a market? I think it depends on how much data.
Like a Canfield, so I'm just looking at the feed.
What?
No, I was just looking at the names. It's Micah Canfield on Facebook.
Oh, okay. So, Willie, how do you decide the size of the mailer? You're the mail guy.
Well, so we determine the market first, and to be honest with you, the size of the mailer is just a function of kind of the market that we choose. So we'll choose a market, say, hey, there's a lot of activity here, we're interested in mailing here, and then we will actually hyper target that area. And so we use our own approach and literally just hitting that market. And so we use DataTree. DataTree is the software that we use. And so the way that the market is cut will determine how many lots there are available in the area. And so we don't really determine how much mail we're sending out. We'll hit the whole market. We'll hit everything within our market that is within our budget that we think will sell fast. So the mailer is really determined by how much, like what the cut of the land is and how many properties are available. So we'll send out a mailer. We probably won't send anything lower than 1,500 units in an area, 1,000 to 1,500 units. But we, on average, probably for us, it's probably 3,000 to 4,000 each time we send out a mailer. But it totally depends. If you're getting started, I wouldn't be, and you're trying to say, okay, now I'm trying to game plan and choose some markets, test some areas, maybe choose 750 in one area, 750 in another area, 750 in another area, send out around 2,000 to 2,500 units. You should get some feedback on that. You should get some response. If you want to be sure that you're going to have a successful mailer, send out 2,000 to 3,000 units. You will get results if you do that and you price it okay. So I think that would be my feedback there.
Yeah, I like this one. What percentage of the business can I outsource with VAs? You can outsource a lot of your business with VAs. What I want to preface this with is learn the business before you outsource anything. Do all the roles within the business until you feel that you can do it with your eyes closed, and then go ahead and outsource it. Outsourcing too early sometimes can lead to issues. But I don't know, what percent would you put it at?
To VAs, yeah, I mean, we've got some people.
80%?
Huh?
80%?
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I would say we've got employees here handling stuff. So sales, we do not handle outsource to VAs. Acquisitions, I mean, we outsource diligence, we outsource property postings, we outsource all paperwork associated with the purchase, posting,
inbound calls for people.
Calls. Yeah, I don't know about 80, maybe. Yeah, I mean 50 to 70.
50 to 70
of the actual manpower of the hours.
Yeah, and for those of you who are interested in getting VAs for your land business, we have a service called landvas.com, which they're basically, it's an extension of our team, and they can help you with anything related to the land business, whether it be postings, due diligence, taxes, etc. They're all trained by us, and so if you're interested, check out landvas.com, and that's my mini pitch.
Your mini pitch, great. All right, so someone wants, so back to the topic, someone wants to know, as you talk about sold versus for sale ratio, is there a certain minimum percentage that you're looking for?
No. I mean, the more sold to not for sale, the better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would just be careful. The only thing I would really be aware of is, like, if it's really bad, if it's like a really bad ratio, I would not mail there. If there's a lot of sold, but the ratio is, I don't know, I would say anything above 2 to 1 for sale to sold. If there's more than 2 to 1, 2 for sale for 1 sold, that would be a big red flag. If there's like 2 to 1 and there's not a lot of solds, then I would just ignore it. So, pretty arbitrary, but I think it makes sense based on how we've handled it. We have some great markets where there's more for sale than sold in the area, so I wouldn't say that's a red flag for me. So, yeah, I would say just be careful and make sure it's a reasonable ratio, and then mail it and test it and see how the market reacts and iterate from there.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we can wrap it up with this question right here. This is a good one. At your scale, how do you keep track of which counties are performing best? Do you use a CRM?
All right. This is a Paul question.
So I can rattle off all the counties that we work on, and it's under 10. And so we're not, what?
Is it under 10?
Probably around 10. We don't we're not like splattering like all over the map in like little places. We kind of find an area, we'll hit it hard, and we'll gather lots of properties, and then we'll find our next area, gather properties, and we kind of systematically do it instead of just having like one here, one there, one here, one there, one there. And we're able to keep track of all this through Airtable. So we have the most insane Airtable you've never seen, and it's Willie's best friend.
I do live in Airtable. It is, I love it. It's
we ran our business out of Excel until, when did we leave Excel? What month was that?
I ran Excel for like 2 years, and then we joined up, and then we're like, oh crap, I can't save anything while someone else is working on the document. And it was kind of madness. David was just panicking.
Well, yeah, and you mess one thing up and the whole thing messes up. Like, it was scary. I think we switched over, what was that, in January, February? March.
When we were using Excel, or
Yeah, we were using Excel until like
we were using Microsoft Excel, and then we're saving to our hard drive, and then we upgraded to
Google Sheets.
Dropbox, and then we saved it in Dropbox, and then we couldn't save over each other, and then we upgraded to Google Sheets, and then that was the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then we upgraded to Airtable, and that's the best thing we've ever done. Period.
Yeah, so check out Airtable.
Yeah.
Did we come up with a catchphrase yet?
I don't think we came up with a catchphrase. But yeah, I guess if what else? Should we go over any more questions? I think there's a couple more. Just answer all the questions. Why not? Just answer them quick. Since COVID, what markets are emerging? I don't know that I have any different answers.
I would say that overall land is I would say land is emerging. Like land is the new hot thing to buy. The markets are like they've never been before for buying and selling land. So I would just say like overall, there's lots of markets. Like there's not really one specific one that's emerging.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have an answer with specific markets. I think just in general, people are moving out more towards the outskirts, and we've gotten overwhelming feedback, anecdotal from our buyers and from realtors that this market, well, from realtors that the market's extremely hot right now, and from our buyers that they want to get the hell out of the cities. And so, I mean, it kind of all makes sense why everything is happening. So I would say rural land on the outskirts of cities where people are or crowded cities, I think that's pretty safe to say. Let's see what else we got. What about Zillow not having data for all markets? How do you know if it's not selling or just bad data? So I would just say use the data that's available. Don't overthink it. And yeah, so I would just say use the data. Everything's relative on Zillow and LandWatch and Redfin, or wherever you're using it. There's enough data out there, and it should be. I mean, I would say the majority of data is at least reasonably decent. And if there's a lot of data points in a specific market, that will override any bad data. So, I mean, there will be some outliers, and you can just get rid of the outliers and just focus on the core data. And I think it'll be okay. Jim says, great, thanks. I was debating between Airtable and Podio. Heard a few folks using Airtable that all love it. So, yeah, I think it's the best thing of all time. So.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting around. I'm like, yeah, I heard of this thing called Airtable. Maybe I'll like it. I heard it's like Excel, and then bam.
Yeah. And then I think we missed this one, so let's just answer it. Can you speak more on pricing blind offers in a market? So we look at the market. We want homogeneous pricing, or at least we need a subset of data. The way we do is we hyper-target these areas. And then we'll price based on where the bulk of the data is, and we'll come undercut that. But we want to be priced at the cheapest end there, or price it under the cheapest like echelon of properties, and we don't overthink it. We want to send out a lot of mail and get good feedback. So that's really it. And any other thing that you could think of, Paul, or anything you want to mention, or?
Yeah, don't be scared to send out mail. Do it.
Don't be scared to send out mail. I agree. So if anyone is interested in learning about our perspective in the land business, and we've put a lot of insight and a lot of thought into our webinar. If you go to landinvestingpros.com, you can find more information about us, our course, what we have to offer. And I think the webinar is very, very valuable, especially for those who haven't seen it yet. So go check out landinvestingpros.com. And Paul, go forward with the catchphrase.
What did the person last week say? I can't remember what it was. Keep flipping them lots.
Keep flipping them lots. I like it.
Keep flipping them lots.
So, yeah, thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate everyone's time. And keep being active in the Facebook group. If you haven't joined, you're in there. So I don't know why I said that. If you're on YouTube and you haven't joined, go to Land Flipping Formula Facebook group and just be active in there. Me and Paul are getting back to people. And we love to see that you guys are doing deals and being active. And so just,
keep flipping them lots.
Keep flipping them lots.
All right. Well, same time, same place next week.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us.
I like this. This concludes your Land Investing Pro Show. Land tips to know, businesses to grow. I like
All
that.
right. We got to give him a cut now.
Who said that? Let's see. Mika.
Micah.
Micah. Sorry.
Canfield. All right.
All right. Well, we'll get the trademark in next week.
All right. Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.